this past weekend.
Okay, we got audio. We got the video rolling. All right, guys, we're going to start right here today. Found this online, this little kind of this ambiance music right here. It's called Emotion 11. I just thought it was kind of like whimsical and kind of wizardly and uplifting and wild and everything. I thought it was a little bit of like something you might hear if you were leaving this universe and heading into the next one. Because today's September 11th. You know, I know we have a lot going on, but right now I just want to take 20 seconds of silence, just to remember, just as a moment of silence for September 11th. So here we go. All right. I appreciate you guys. Just, kind of going through that. It's September 11th. I'm not going to talk a ton about it, but certainly, it's one of those things that pops in your head, man. It's here. It's here every year. I remember I was in the airport. This is a few years ago at Los Angeles airport. I didn't even realize it was September 11th, And no shame on us if we do or if we don't recognize that it's coming, because, we're living our lives. And that's what people who lost their lives in September, that's exactly what they would be doing, They'd be living their life. That's what we're here to do. We're here to celebrate living, even though we switched the song out today for that song, which is called Emotion 11 by Nicholas Gustafson. And I looked for something that I thought was kind of, that would be, that elevator music you might hear on the way up to heaven. Something that's kind of whimsical and wispy and like anything is possible, something kind of exciting and everything. I thought of that music. But years ago, I was in the airport. I was in Los Angeles International Airport flying to somewhere. It was September 11th. And it was the time in between, the exact minute in between when the airplanes had hit the two Twin Towers. And they came over the loudspeaker in the airport. And this is Los Angeles Airport. There's thousands, tens of thousands of people in there bustling and running around. And they said, right now we want to observe a minute of stillness and silence for 9/11. And everybody stopped. And it was pretty mesmerizing. It was like, because, your plane wasn't going to leave because everybody was stopped. Everything was, there was no... So you had like this free minute in this extremely busy space where everybody was still and silent. And it was really, it was pretty, that was a kind of an emotional moment. And it was just captivating to see everybody slow it down and stop and just have a moment of peace in just a morning of anarchy at the Los Angeles International Airport. But I'm going to say happy September 11th, guys. I don't mean that in a condescending way. I just mean it in, we're here, we're living, and we need to do, just continue to move onward and do the best that we can with our lives. And I'm sure that's what anybody who's, milling about in the great beyond is wanting us to do. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here with you guys on Monday, September 11th, 2017. I was in Austin, Texas this past weekend, and I just want to thank everybody that came out. I was really just dumbfounded by Austin, man. It's cool. Texas is a cool state. Texas is a kind of place where it feels like as long as you get your work done, you do what you want to do. You say what you want to say. But you get up every day and you do your job, whatever it is. It seems like one of the last places on earth or in America where I've noticed that we don't want any slackers around here. It was just this vibe that I got in the air. In Texas, you come here. I don't know, it doesn't matter if you're a reader, a writer, a rodeo man. If you's out there checking animals, being one of them people that checks animals for, birth or lumps or something. Sometimes you see those videos where men have they're putting their animals inside of a calf's butt or in the ovaries trying to get a baby out. If you do that, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a shepherd, anything, as long as you come here and you do your job, then that's fine. That's fine. That's the Texas way. It just had this vibe about it, and it was really cool. I mean, really diverse, schools of thought. Austin's amazing. If you haven't been, went to this place called Barton Springs, where you could it's like this, they like kind of caged up this river. So I've caged things in my life. I've caged cats. When we were young, we caught a bunch of cats. Me and my buddy Danny, and he was born with not cerebral palsy, but just kind of neck. His neck had some kind of it wasn't really, his neck wasn't strong. He had a limp neck. A lot of people, your neck holds you straight up. But my boy Danny, his neck didn't want him to be straight up. His neck liked to rest. And he was always kind of just, fighting to keep his head up. He was just always battling gravity with his head, But anyhow, we used to, God dang it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, what were we talking about? We're talking about gravity? No, we're talking about animals. Oh, we're talking about swimming. We used to cage up cats. And we talk about cage animals because somebody caged up a river there in Austin, Texas, and they call it Barton Springs. And that's amazing to me when you're basically what somebody did was, I guess they have a river and somebody trapped it. Like, you put a dam to trap a river on one side. Well, somebody came back and put a dam on the other side, and they trapped it, and they caught a river. Somebody caged up a piece of nature. It's like if you go out in your yard right now, you throw a big net over a tree, and you tie the net down on all four corners. That tree's not going to be able to grow. It's going to have to U-turn and start growing downwards. If you want to be a tree catcher, tree cager. Well, somebody did this with a river. And it's beautiful out there. You go and there's hills and there's people sunbathing. And legal breasts. It's legal breast environment where they have a law in Texas where if a man has his shirt off, if a man can have his nipples out, then a woman can have her nipples out. That's a dual nipple state. And we were out there and we saw some fair market titties, boy. We sure did. We saw some fair market titties out there. And some decent titties. Sometimes you think when you go to these outdoor environments where there's breasts or Hooters or Hogan's or, fun sacks or whatever you want to call them, man. Them dang milk rabbits, Some people, if you think if you're going to see them outdoors, then they're going to be kind of dirty or dusty looking titties. Because me and my same buddy with with not much of a neck on him, with that, kind of that weeping willow of a neck, my boy Danny, we used to go by the rest area. And we would look at, a lot of people would meet up behind the rest area and, do drugs and then have drug-induced sexual activity. And we would go out there and watch them sometimes from far away. We were still at that age we didn't want to get that close because sex made us pretty nervous as children. When you're children, you see two people beating their bodies into each other for joy, it doesn't make much sense. When you see two people from far away just slamming their crotches into each other, you kind of just think they're the worst dancers, So as children, we weren't, super close on them to see, we're still a little bit weary. It wasn't like when you're like 15, we're like, oh man, how close can I get, Maybe I can get downwind of this activity and catch a hit, catch a lung hit off this activity out there, this sensuality. But we weren't feeling like that. We were still at that age where we wanted to just kind of see what was going on. But me and Danny would get over by the rest area. We have binoculars, or we only had one set of binoculars, and then somebody would have a magnifying glass. And in hindsight, that wasn't very effective, but shit, we were kids, dude. Most of the shit we were doing was ineffective. Children do a lot of ineffective shit. So we'd get out there and we'd see some titties out there by the rest area, and we'd see drug-induced, sensual activity and all of that. And a lot of those breasts were dirtier on the men and women. You'd see, just nude bodies that were so covered in dirt you didn't know what ethnicity someone was, So pretty interesting. But out of this Barton Springs there in Austin, Texas, it was, just peaceful. It was kind of like what you'd imagine if clean people were behind a rest area, just having a good time and listening to music, going swimming. They had a diving board right into this caged up river. And it was just, man, it's sheer joy out there. The children can go, In France, children see titties all the time, breasts all the time, nippled, nippled fucking damn feeders, female feeders. Children see them all the time. And it's only in America where we have children so gun shy about breasts, about tits. So it's nice to be in an environment where people aren't that gun shy about it, where, a man or a woman can have their breasts out and everybody's not freaking out. And that's Barton Springs over there in Austin, Texas. If you get a chance, I recommend that you check it out. I'm thinking also of, I know that they got a new hurricane that's come through, Irma, beating up down there in the Gulf of Tampa, Florida. Obviously thinking about those people and wondering what lives are like for them. I actually got a call. I'll play it really fast of someone that came in. Somebody hit the hotline, and the hotline, you can address anything in the show. So we got a call that came in from the hotline from Florida. Let's take a dab off of that right here.
Hey, Theo. My name is Devin. I'm calling from Boca Raton, Florida, right in the middle of Hurricane Irma.
And it just cut off like that. So who knows what happened to her, actually. Hey, she could have taken a front to the frickin' sound hole, But that was it. We asked some callers to call in about Florida, see what was going on. That's the one call that we got. It was from Devin, obviously, who called in, obviously under the influence of alcohol and maybe hurricane water. And who knows what happened to her, but I pray that she's safe. She literally just got cut off 11 seconds into that call. Not by me. The call just came in, cut off. But yeah, thinking about those people, still thinking about the people in Harvey. It's interesting. It's like when another natural disaster happens in our minds, especially with the news and stuff today, we kind of just move right on. It's like, oh, what's next? It's interesting. On television, you start watching Florida so much, you forget that people have just gone through in Texas, this in Texas. You forget that it's 9/11 today because otherwise the news would be building up about that, They'd be covering stories about that or, checking in with people. And it's just, there's a lot going on. We're living in a busy time. There's a lot of excitement. And I don't mean excitement that it's all positive, but excitement. There can be negative excitement. Like if they have a serial killer in your town, yeah, it's not positive excitement, but it's exciting. It's exciting to sit in your breakfast nook in the morning and eat a little bit of Apple Jacks and know that they might have a man with a dagger or something waiting for you somewhere. It's like there's a little bit of excitement in the air. So I think that that's what's going on out there. But I appreciate everybody that came out in Austin. We have some Patreon up, patreon.com/Theo Von. If you want to show your support, I appreciate that as well. People have been, and we're just getting into that. We'll be reaching out to those people this week. What else? Last week I had people call in. It was Labor Day, and I had people call in about jobs that they had, different jobs. And usually I wait to play calls till later in the show, but I just want to play this guy's call that came in because it puts some things into poop-spective. Let's say that. This fella put things in a poop-spective for me. Listen to this guy.
Yeah, Theo, you're talking about bad jobs.
Yeah, he's talking about bad jobs because I had talking about at the end of the podcast last week, I talked about some jobs that I had, just referencing Labor Day. So that's what he's talking about. Onward.
When I got out of high school, I went to work for the city, and I worked at a sewer plant. And so, all the turds and shit would get all clogged up. And
he said turds, bro. Man, you know what? I love when people say turds. People don't say that enough. And I was driving through El Paso, Texas one time on my way to University of Arizona, and I saw a turd, a human piece of, just body dirt, butt, foreign old lunch, just fly through the air across the interstate, right across the front of my window. And you might think, oh, that's crazy, dude. You didn't see a turd fly across the interstate in front of your car? Well, guess what? I've never seen it again. And I've never thought something was a turd. So that makes me think in hindsight that if I saw it, then that's what it was. I'm not just, I've seen birds go by. I know what other things are. So I know when somebody's humming feces past me. But anyhow, I didn't mean to interrupt you, bud. Let's go. Let's listen to the rest of this story. Okay, go.
So they had to have somebody drive around in a boat out in the sewer pond to stir everything up.
Ooh. I'm the captain now. Can you even imagine? Can you imagine that you are the shit boat captain? Dang! Onward.
And yes, there was a time that I went to work one time really drunk, and I did fall out of the boat. And so people would ask me about my job, and I would tell them it was just shit. Because it literally was shit. So anybody who thinks their job is bad, think about being the boat driver at the shit pond.
Wow. So I just want to start, you know what? I wanted to kick us off right there. So if your day is already, gone to shit, well, guess what? You just won your day back. Because that man right there that just called in, okay, that man was operating a tugboat out in a doo-doo river. Think about that. Think about the next time you make brownies with your bottom. And think about it going out into the distance, and then think about some man being out there boating through it. And I'm not trying to be nasty this morning. I'm just trying to put our lives into perspective. And I appreciate your call. Because not a lot of men is brave enough to say they've been out there, kayaking through Dookie. And this man is saying that. And I appreciate that. It means a lot, dude. And that puts it into perspective, Hey, can you paddle over there? Yeah, sorry, they got a couple of, yeah. Oh, yeah, a couple of, can you even imagine that? Getting over there with an oar, breaking up the, that guy. So anyway, is your day that today? Huh? Are you going to take a risk of falling into a, pure imagination? It's like that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the part where Gustavus Schmlop, or whatever that guy's name is, Yakadopoulos Guansnoopicus, or whatever. And you're like, and then he falls in. It's like that. That guy went through it. That guy went through it for us. So what's your day like, huh? I want you to retake a look at your day right now. Does it entail that at all? Does it entail you being the ferry captain on a doo-doo battleship? If it doesn't, then it sounds like you're going to be doing pretty well today. And I appreciate you being here with me. Austin was great. I'll be in Cleveland this coming weekend, so you know that. So you can be prepared for that if you live out in Cleveland or have been out there. I'll be at the Hilarities Comedy Club. So come out and see me this week. This week. And it makes me think, I had a fan that showed up, or a friend that showed up in Texas this past week. And I've been asked this a bunch about just how I got into comedy and what I did and what made me want to do it and stuff like that. And then a call came in about kind of something along those lines. So I'm going to play that right now. This is from Indiana. Onward.
Hey, Theo. Just want to say I love the show. I'd like to say that I'm 18, I'm trying to figure life out right now. I don't know if I should leave my family and go pursue a music career. You don't have to make the decision for me. I just feel like I have something to say to the world. But I'm afraid of being, without security, on my own. I'm kind of on my own right now, but I don't know. Maybe you can help me. Thanks, man.
I want to thank you for calling. I appreciate that, from Indiana. Indiana also where the Ku Klux Klan started. And I'm not trying to raise any controversy or anything, but I'm from Louisiana. We get blamed a lot for that. I just wanted to at least just bring that up. I appreciate you calling, man. I could hear in your voice, like, you're at that age where you're trying to decide, you're figuring it out. And let me just, I don't really have any advice from you, because my advice usually is don't take any advice. But I can share with you that you have time. Like, it might be hard to realize at 18, but you have time. You can make a few choices. You could go into the military. You could have a family. And still do things later. You could go into the military and then still pursue a couple job opportunities later. You have time. So it's at least awesome to hear that you're interested in what's next for you, what's on the forefront of your battleground, And I wasn't sure if I wanted to move out to Los Angeles. And one of my best friends, his father, who's probably maybe about 70 years old and one of the best and worst dancers I've ever met, from Greenville, Mississippi. He said, I asked him, I didn't know. I said, I don't know what I want to do. And he'd always been a writer, but he'd always wanted to really pursue it. And he'd never gotten around to it as much as he wanted to. And he said, if you don't go now and chase your dream, he said, you might never will. And some of you guys are thinking, well, that's not really correct grammar. Well, that's what he said. I mean, this beautiful gentleman was from Mississippi. And he said, you might never will. And that's all it took from me. It took somebody saying that, look, if you don't get out there and give it a shot, you'll never know. And I'll say this, you talked about your family will always be there. They're going to go through things. They're going to love you no matter what. They'll be there when you get back. Some of them might be on drugs. Some of them might not be, whatever. But they'll always be there. So, I would, if it continues to plague you that you're not sure, then you can check it out. You can always go back. Home won't change that much, and if it does change, it'll change for the better, because I believe that change is always for the better. What about these categories, man? I was thinking about this. So Irma hits this, and I appreciate you calling, man, and best of luck. It's your own personal choice, but the fact that you're thinking about it is important, because you're thinking. You're thinking, man. If you start from if you're thinking, bro, you're going to do well. You're going to do well. I was thinking about this with categories, right? These categories of these storms. I'm all over the place. We got a lot going on today, right? We got hurricanes. We got 9/11. We got, we got people. We got people bass fishing out in duty lakes, And I'm thinking about, they do categories for different storms. I wish they did that for your family, don't you? Because I'll tell you right now, one of my sisters, Category 3, undeniable. The other sister, you'd think God would give me only a Category 2? No, she's a Category 4, gale force. She'll hit you so hard you can't close your eyes for a couple hours. She comes in hot. But then she got some lows. So I just think it would be great if we could categorize our family members as to what they were. Oh, Uncle Danny? Oh, dude, we haven't seen him in a couple of years. We assume he's probably a Category 2, out in Key West. But my grandfather, barely with us anymore. He's a Category 1. Yeah, he's doing good, though. He got a new roommate over at the home. But wouldn't it be great if you just had categories for your family? I wish they had it. So you would just get an idea. I always thought it would be good if they had pamphlets. For when you meet somebody, they give you a pamphlet. People are like, well, what do you like? And you're like, I don't really have time to tell you, but check out the pamphlet, And if you like what you see, then, follow me on social media. I think it would be great if everybody had a pamphlet. Because otherwise, you got to go milling around. You got to go, snooping around and seeing what's going on. It can get a little bit tricky. But if they had that pamphlet. What else? I'm feeling excited about this week. I went and watched some music today when I got home. I flew back from Austin. Football is back. So suddenly, whatever has been bugging you, as a man or as a football fan, suddenly it all starts to drift away a little bit. I bet there's even some relief, a little bit of relief for people who are going through these storms, to be bottled away in a hotel far from their home. There's a little relief to know that for this weekend they got a little bit of football, Because there's something as a man, if you're a sport watching man, it's soothing to you, I mean, sure, it's Monday. Sure, you got your work week ahead. But look outside of your boat. What's out there? Doo-doo rivers? I don't think so. Not everybody's a shitboat captain. So let's be gracious that we're not that today. And let's be gracious that there are shitboat captains out there who are willing to call in and share what that's like. As well, I want to thank everybody. One of my videos on YouTube got up to 150,000 views. That's the white privilege video. If you want to check that out, it's on YouTube. In that clip, I talk about white privilege, and you hear a lot about white privilege. And I know it exists, I'm not denying that. But I know that I did not feel it. And I did not see it. And some of my black friends will say, well, you don't know, you don't know what it's like to be black and to not have that. But I know what it's like to be white and not have it. I remember going to the principal's office or going to the office and trying to get financial aid for college, and they had all the programs, but not for a white guy. They didn't have anything special for the poor white kid. Everything you had to be black or Native American or Pacific Islander. What is that? What is that even, dude? Pacific Islanders? Surfers? You telling me surfers are getting special treatment or getting opportunity? I live in Louisiana. We're pretty much landlocked unless you got a river surfer, or somebody surfing at home in their tub, on a small board. So, I remember one time, I was like, well, what do you have? Is there anything for me? Is there anything special I can apply it for? And she said, no, we got this. And she said, it's for black people, for black children. And I said, well, I can't do that. She goes, well, come back when you're black. That's what this lady told me, this old lady working in the financial aid counselor office. Come back when I'm black. What? Come on. So, if you get a chance to check out that clip, it's a short clip, but it's just something, I'm trying to, I get nervous sometimes to share some of my feelings, especially these days. Everybody wants to make it out like every white person's had the greatest existence in the world. But of course, I realize that there are elements that are deeply embedded in our society, in the ways that we think, in the histories of the ways that we think, in our economy, in the ways that everything has been structured. And maybe it's easy to just use a blanket term like white privilege, but everybody's different. And when I hear that term just thrown around, when I hear it thrown around a lot, it feels to me condescending. It makes me feel like I was in the same social and financial life structure as, little Carl Fauntleroy the third, William, or, fancy Fauntlepants the third. And I wasn't. He had conditioner. He had probably hair conditioner at his house, and he probably got to bathe by himself. And I know these are just small ideas, and but I'm just saying, I remember bathing with 4 kids that I didn't know one time. What was that? And they weren't even white. I just think we got to be specific, By being blanket, it doesn't address. By being and using a blanket term, it doesn't address. And I know I'm getting all off on a tangent here, but it's tough these days. It's tough these days to have any sort of feeling that seems to go against some of the status quo sometimes. Even just to have a question that goes against the status quo. And I think that these days, you got to be specific. Because by being blanket with a term like white privilege, it doesn't address the different inequalities because you're assuming that everyone is the same. And that's not true. There's a lot of different levels within white people. There's everyone. I mean, I feel like a million special and things had to happen for me to get to where I am at in my life today. And not things that I did either. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about just unique opportunities or care that I received from strangers that I didn't expect. And that wasn't white privilege. It wasn't things that happened because I was white, surely. It was just the nature of people wanting to be good to other people, But yeah, so I guess I have a lot of feelings wrapped around that. And look, I don't have to be right about those feelings. Some of them can just be feelings. Maybe they're not right. But I do have a lot of thoughts, I guess, And it's an interesting topic. And so I'm trying to explore it more on stage. So if you get a chance, check out that the white privilege clip on YouTube, share it. It's picking up some steam, and I want people to see it because I'm just going to keep working in that realm and trying to make, find some light in what were some of the darker days in my time growing up in white poverty, and in poverty in general. That's what I'm saying is that when poor is poor, if you want to talk about green privilege, I knew people that had that, but that white privilege, I didn't see that, I didn't see it in my life. And I'd love to go back. I'd love to get some reparations for that, Sign me up. Some of these people going to these fancy games and sitting in these suites and eating crab meat, and people having teddy bears that actually have fur on them, and I'm hugging that bear at night that don't have any fur, and I'm not complaining, but I am explaining. I'm just sick of, they don't think a poor white person is going to make it out of that environment and get out there and get up to, to here where I am at today, even though it's nowhere special, but being able to have a voice and say what I want on stage. Well, I disagree with that. I'm not going to not live my truth because it doesn't fit in with what this narrative sometimes is that's out there in the world. That every poor white person has to be a redneck, or every poor white person has to be an idiot, or every poor white person, like, I don't know what it's like to be black. It's true. I'll never know, and I don't claim to, I try to empathize with people that had a tough time for sure. And I know I saw a lot of my black friends growing up have a tough time. I did. It was at a time when there weren't any wealthy black people. The only wealthy black people I ever saw were athletes or the dudes on Coming to America, and that was a movie. But that was it. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that as to what I saw, So I have a lot of, but also a black person will never know what it's like to be poor and white. To grow up in similar type poverty, but to be white, It's like rich people don't look at you like they want to help. It's not, it's like there's a special white van coming around once a week and dropping off white shit, white growth, white opportunity. If anything, they look at you like, oh, how'd this guy fuck it up? He's white. He doesn't have anything. I don't want any of that. It's like you got money AIDS when you're white. It's like you got money AIDS. People look at you like, oh, don't put the money by him. He gonna fuck it up. So, but that clip kind of gets into that, and I'm trying to expound more of that in my comedy because I want to try and share my truth, and I want to try and at least share my truth in an environment where if other people want to respond to it, then that's fine. And I'm always open to learn. I don't have to be right, but I can be vocal even if I'm wrong along the way, So anyhow, I appreciate any sharing you can do with that. Real quick, I want to throw a word out for Laughable. And they're not paying me for this. I like their app. If you have an iPhone, you should go download the Laughable app and you can use it to listen to all of your podcasts from now on. It's the best rated podcast app in the App Store. What makes Laughable unique is that you can subscribe not just to podcast series, but also directly to me and any other comedians you enjoy listening to on podcasts. Once you subscribe, Laughable will keep you current on all the podcasts that comedian or that I, as a guest or as a host or as a guest host, go on. So you can keep tabs. If you like listening to me, you like listening to someone, you can follow them and you can hear whenever they go on another podcast as well. iPhone users go to laughable.com/download or search for Laughable in the App Store. It's a great app and I totally recommend it. And if you like the podcast, tell your friends, let them know what's going on. We're doing some good stuff here. I know we're going to try to reach out to inmates soon and get an inmates corner in here and see what's going on out there in the correctional facility. And we're just going to keep the vibe going, man. We're going to keep things going out here. I know the vibe sounds weird. I don't know what that means, but, but I'm just a shitboat captain, man. I'm just a shitboat captain. So let's hit another caller right here. We had people call in about their jobs. We were talking about Labor Day. And one of the things, when I think about 9/11 and I think about still being alive, I think about, what does it mean to be alive, Because sometimes you'll see tributes to 9/11, or if you have the opportunity to be in New York and go see the memorial there, it's amazing. It's breathtaking. It's beautiful. It's got the same as the wall that's in Washington D.C. And I don't want to say the wrong name of the wall, but it's the wall that I believe has the names of many of the soldiers that died in Vietnam, I believe. Or it could be World War II. I'm not sure, but there's a wall there that just memorializes a lot of soldiers. And man, being at those places is just it's heavy. It's real. It makes you think about life. And sometimes we romanticize life when we think about when we're thinking about 9/11 or we're thinking about it's Veterans Day. We romanticize life, but life. I mean, we're just out here with each other. We're out here, we're an 18-year-old boy wondering if he should, chase a dream, if he should move out west for a little bit. We're a guy who showed up to work hungover and fell into a stool bath, and who got that dip, who took that dip. We're just people. We wake up, we might have problems, we might not have problems. We might be in love, we might not be in love. We might be searching for something, but not even sure if what we're searching for is what's best for us. It's not like life is sometimes we romanticize it. I do anyway when I think about these certain, on days like 9/11, I romanticize, life, it's so, and it is precious. It's an amazing gift. It's something that we can't even quantify. The scientists, sure, they can get on these molecules and something, but I like to think that life has made up of mostly magic, and I don't need to know all the answers, I just need to be out here and know that I have the ability each day to be out here living it. But yeah, it's just us, man. It's just us making decisions, figuring it out. That's what we're doing, and I appreciate you guys hitting this hotline and calling in and being a part of this together. The hotline number is 985-664-9503, and this guy had a fun call. I already listened to it once. Most of these I've already listened to once. Some I'll cut off right in the beginning if I really think it's going to be cool so I can listen to it with you guys the first time. But this call is a gay meat team, so let's listen to this gentleman that called in about jobs.
Hey, Theo. It's Tim from Tennessee calling again.
This is Tim from Tennessee. Onward, Tim.
I just want to tell you about a job that I had. When I was about 18, I worked at a Kroger. It wasn't that bad of a job, but, I worked in the deli.
Ooh. Onward.
And it was mostly with a bunch of, just old, hardened women.
Oh, yeah. I like an old hardened woman. Hey, will you give me that, hey, Maureen, we got a couple of butts. We got a couple of roast butts over there. Where's the mutton? Donna, where's the mutton? oh, well, and they're always gossiping. They're like, oh, well, fucking Charlene was supposed to do the damn crab cakes, and she's out there with her fucking husband, and she don't even like him. Sorry, brother, onward.
And, you know, they told me a lot of stories about their ex-husbands and things like that, so that was pretty entertaining. But my favorite part of that job was probably you know, all the foods that I stole and I ate. You know, I ate a lot of fried chicken. I worked in the deli making fried chicken, so I ate a lot of that. And I also ate a lot of those, like tons of those cookies that, you know, you're supposed to give out to the children. But
Hey, that's it, man. You know, if I'm working at a deli, what do you think I'm doing? You think I'm back there just slicing meat for whoever's buying it? Oh, I'm hiding prosciutto in my cheeks, dude. Oh, I'm stuffing a couple of ounces of boar head right up my frickin' bunghole. I'm drug muling a couple of fucking sliced pieces of honey baked out of that bitch. Dude, I used to wash dishes at this fancy restaurant. They had cheeses in that place that I'd never even heard of. I mean, cheeses that you had to have a day. I mean, your tongue had to know acrobatics to even say the names of these cheeses. And I worked there and I was doing dishwashing. And even the water I washed dishes with, I think, was charcoal filtered or something. I mean, it was a nice place. And I remember I would collect these half of sandwiches and pieces of sandwiches would come back there with this cheese on them, this Gruyere and Brasvada, different cheeses, you know. And I would collect them, man. I would save all these cheeses, and then I'd go get me a piece of bread, and I'd take half-eaten pieces of cheeses off of people's sandwiches. And at the end of the night, I'd have me a beautiful little, just unpronounceable cheese treat. And sometimes you got to treat yourself. So I understand what you're doing back there in the deli. You know, one piece of chicken for Danny and one piece of chicken for Daddy. Let's keep it moving.
yeah, my least favorite part though was probably this. There's this gay boy that would he would always.
Sorry, I'm not laughing because it's a gay boy. I'm laughing how he said it, though, man. Onward.
You know, kind of flirt with me, even though he knew I wasn't gay, but he still kind of continued to flirt with me, and he would always kind of like hide behind the deli counter and all sneaky like, and he would jump out and scare me while I was slicing meat.
And that is something, you know what? Because I think a lot of gay boys, they like if they see a straight man get scared, because they feel like there's a momentary disconnection from a man and his spirit where they could jump in there. You know, they can jump in there and get at your heart and get at your, you know, your butt and into your love nest and everything. Because that's the thing. Sometimes you just got to shake somebody off of their emotional footing. And if their emotional footing is heterosexual, you got to shake them off of it. And then you can slip in there, you know, and slide that mental spirit dick into them first. And then come and prosper physically after. So I see that trick. That's a gay trick, you know, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just a pickup move that I think a lot of, you know, as this young gay boy, he's probably trying to get up into you, you know, he's probably envious of that chicken you hiding in your cheeks, you know. He wants you to hide his little bit, his little slice of hard gay cornbread up in your mouth, probably. You know, so that's truly beautiful, man. I respect both of you guys for playing, you know, freeze tag back there behind the meat counter. Let's hear a little bit more of this beautiful story.
So, I didn't really like that. Also there was...
Back it up just so I can hear all of it again.
But he still kind of continued to flirt with me, and he would always kind of like hide behind the deli counter and all sneaky like, and he would jump out and scare me while I was slicing meat. So I didn't really like that. Also there was a different gay man who would he would always try to fix my clothes for me, like you know, like adjust my collar or zip up my jacket, things like that. So that kind of made me uncomfortable. But anyways, that was a job that I had. Thanks for the podcast, man. You have a good one. Keep it up.
Yeah, and that's more of the motherly gay man, you know, and I think that that's nice to have. I mean, it sounded like at least you had people that were loving you back there. Excuse me. At least you had people that were loving you. You know, at least you had a beautiful little gay boy to jump out from behind a meat wheel or whatever and spook you. You know, you back there cutting into some exotic beefs or some London broil. And then next thing you know, you got a randy little Davy. I imagine his name is something like Davy or, Salty William or something. And next thing you know, you got Salty William just living right there on the doorstep of your shoulder. And he's like, hey, oh, you cutting meats? And that's beautiful, man. And then you got the other guy, the older gentleman, the older gay gentleman coming and fixing your clothes. It sounds like you're living in the lap of luxury, man. It sounds like you're living high on the hog. But that's what life is. That's what life is, you know. It's a man named Tim in Tennessee hiding chicken in his cheeks and getting approached by younger and older gay men. It's a guy driving a shit wheeler, floating shit boat. That's what life is. That's what we're doing. You know? That's what we're doing. But we're at least, and that's it. That's what it is. It's just, it's life. All you got to do every day is get up and show up for it. You got to take action. Every day you got to take action. You got to show up and meet life halfway, and life will meet you with amazing things. Amazing things. It could be anything. It could be anything. And that's what the gift of life is. It's possibility. It's possibility. If you show up every day, if you can find a way, I know you're having a tough day. I know you don't want to go to work again. I know it's 6:45 or 8:10 in the morning. I know you're running late. But oh well. What are you going to do about that? Nothing. But what are you going to do about yourself? You show up. You show up. You change your attitude. And you say, I ain't falling off this shit boat today. I'm da captain now. That's what it's about, guys. That is what it's about. I had a text come in. Some people text the hotline as well. You can text the hotline. And this was from Poplar Bluff, Minnesota. Minnesota is one of the big 50 states. It's where the Mississippi River begins at Lake Itasca Park. And I met a beautiful young lady named Melinda one time, and she took me there. And we sat out there and talked and had nice coffee. And I could jump from one side of the Mississippi to the other. So that was cool. You want to talk about a shit river? Go check in with the Mississippi down there in Louisiana, boy. Woo! That's 90% bowel water. Okay, but let's hear this text. I'm going to read it to you. Hey, yo, Theo, do you think Tarzan was a virgin, and you misspelled virgin, you spelled it V-E-R-G-I-N, when he met Jane? Do you think Tarzan was a virgin when he met Jane, or you think he was beating gorilla cheeks? And I guess that means having sex with gorillas. And if so, is that where AIDS started? Okay. So I'll tell you this, man. I mean, Tarzan, if you don't know, Tarzan was this character, I think in the early 1900s, that was raised in the woods by apes. And in the story, the apes don't even exist. You know, the story, I think, I'm trying to remember who even wrote that. The story of Tarzan, the apes don't even exist. A fictional character. Edgar Burroughs. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but Edgar Burroughs also wrote John Carter. He also wrote John Carter, which is that Disney movie that came out a few years ago that the guy from Friday Night Lights played the lead in. Anyhow, Tarzan got out into the woods, and that's where he lived. He tried to survive in society. He didn't like it. And so he went back into the woods. He was a feral child. There's also some feral child videos, and this is crazy to watch, but there's one I know I've seen on YouTube. And maybe I'll try to drop it into the YouTube of my own YouTube of this past week in this episode, where there's a girl who was raised by wild dogs, and you can see her drinking out of a faucet somewhere, I think in a faraway country. And I want to say it's Eastern Europe, but I'll try to put that video into the YouTube as well. You can check on the YouTube of this past weekend, this episode, and see it. That'll be up Monday evening. But do I think he was a virgin when he met Jane? I would bet no. Because if you've been out in the wild and you've seen all these animals, you see them having sex. Unlike me and Danny, we were watching from far away with a magnifying glass and a binocular. But if you get up close and you're witnessing that sexual action all the time of animals, you're going to be curious quick. And I think you're going to start doing sex probably, maybe you would think with monkeys. And that's where they say that AIDS started. I wouldn't be surprised. If I fuck a monkey, something bad should happen, I think. Because that's when I think we're going a little too far. I don't think the monkey, actually monkeys probably are into that. Monkeys seem like animals, some of them, the big ones, that probably wouldn't mind it. But that definitely, I've always said this about bestiality. Nobody wants to talk about it, right? And I agree. It's funky, but here I go. If you're having sensual activity with a small animal, you're going to jail, okay? You're not just going to jail in Arizona or Texas. You're going to jail everywhere, as far as I'm concerned. But if you are out there and you fuck a mountain lion or a lynx, you're a hero, okay? You don't go to jail for that. If you're able to fuck a cheetah, you're never buying a beer again. You put that on YouTube, gazillion views. That'll break the internet. Freaking, white dude bangs cheetah. Bro, staying on the back of a cheetah, it'll put bull riding to shame like that. It'll put bull riding to shame like that. No saddle, bareback, wiener only, bro. That's the only thing connecting you to one of the craziest cats in the game. So Tarzan, was he a virgin when he met Jane? But I think one of the reasons and the beauty in the story of Tarzan is that that's where he learned about love. So I'm guessing that he probably was. I'll have to read the book again. I'm not familiar. But it's the same guy that wrote John Carter, which is wild, which they just made that movie a few years ago. And that book, Tarzan, was in like early 1900s. Edgar Burroughs actually is the man that wrote it. Where did AIDS start, dude? Started out there in the dark arts. Something wild had to happen, Something wild had to happen. All right, I want to hit a few Patreon questions here from our Patreon people. I appreciate you guys' support. From Qie Jenkins. Yo, I just want to slowly get to know you, bruh. What's your favorite beverage? My favorite beverage, since I don't drink alcohol currently, I'm 14 months sober, so I drink ginger beer. That's what I like. And I also like water. Because if I'm made of water, guess what I'm giving myself? Water. Don't be an idiot. You know what I'm saying? You out there drinking milk, dude? That came out of an animal. So, unless you got a wife or somebody, and they used to let us breastfeed off my aunt when I was young. And that was, a little more kosher back then. I don't know if, breastfeeding off your aunt is, I don't even know if that's still legal anymore, who's doing that. But it used to be pretty popular when I was a child. But yeah, I go with ginger beer or water are my two choices. Another question. Theo, love the podcast. You're a wordsmith. Couple of questions. Do you cook? What would be your last meal? I don't cook very often. Occasionally I will cook for my neighbors. My neighbors are very good to me. And I love them and they treat me well. And sometimes I'll make them some Cajun food. And I'll make a jambalaya. Or I'll make a dessert. I like a creme brulee. What would be my last meal? I'll probably have me a turkey avocado sandwich. And I don't put any mayonnaise on it. I like to pour a little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper on that thing. And then I would honestly, sometimes I like to just put sugar in my mouth. When I was young, we used to play this game where you'd put sugar in each other's mouths. Would slap each other in the face and try to knock that sugar out of somebody's mouth. And if you knocked the sugar out of them, then you won. So that was a popular game back then. And so I'd probably have maybe just a little bit of sugar, so I could go to heaven with a little bit of sweetener on my gums. Another question. This is from Florida, from Matthew Holland, who said, I'm riding out the hurricane here in Florida. This shit is crazy. That's what Matthew said. Anyway, In sticking with the caloric intake theme, my question is as follows. When was the worst time, I don't know what the caloric intake theme is, but when was the worst time you ever bombed on stage and ate an entire plate of dicks or DX or cocks? I'll tell you when it was. And actually, you're in Florida. It was in Florida. I was working at University of North Florida. I was hosting a battle of the bands that they had there, and that's where different bands compete against each other. Different college bands compete against each other to see who's the best, even though they all fucking suck. And I was the maitre d', the announcer for the evening. So I came out and I had to do stand-up. I come out, I do like 10 minutes of stand-up. They boo me off the stage. Now, literally, I've been doing stand-up for 3 years. They boo me off the stage, right? Boo me off. But little do they know, I have to go back out between every band and do 5 more minutes of comedy. I burned all my material right in the beginning, just burning through it because it was like a dog in a fight. I just, I wasn't even grasping anything with my teeth, but I was still just biting at the air, just firing all my bullets at once. And I screwed it, it was horrible. And I had to go back out there, I think 6 more times at least, and in between the bands, and I had no material, and they lit me up. And I could feel tears inside of my body gathering. And I never cried inside before. Now, I'd cried on the inside often. They put a lot of tears in me, I guess, when I was born, and it took over the years, they came out. But as an adult, I hadn't really hit the tear bank a ton, and I'd never hit the tear bank internally. And you could just feel just that salt water just running down my insides, and that was tears of uncertainty and not of joy. And that was in your state in Florida. Another question from our Patreon supporter, Charley Dunham, says, do hamps reciprocate affection and loyalty? I'll say this, when I was young, they did. And I think I had more patience at the time for hamsters. He's talking about hamsters. And a lot of people know or don't know that I grew up in a hamster breeding area, and I used to sell hamsters and G-pigs, guinea pigs. But, and they used to, but I think I had more patience for them. And a lot of the hamster market these days we get a lot of our hamsters from Russia, from Eastern Europe. That's a true story. That's facts. But guinea pigs, those are the ones that are more affectionate and that are more beautiful looking to me these days. Everybody has their opinion, but I like those. That's your answer there, Charlie. I appreciate the question. And one more from Christian Prado. Hey, dude, just yesterday the car behind me at an intersection got T-boned before my eyes. What's the craziest accident you've ever witnessed, either by your involvement or as a bystander? I know exactly what it was. I was in New Orleans, and we were down by the Mississippi. We were down by Mardi Gras World, and a black man just shot another black man in the back. He shot him in the back with a gun, and the guy who did the shooting, he ran off, and the guy who didn't do the shooting got hit by the bullet, and he looked not well. And then we drove off, man. You drive fast. When people are getting shot, apparently, I and my friend who was driving, we're not the type of people that hang around. So that's what we did. But I would say that's one of the craziest accidents that I ever witnessed. I'm going to think about that again in the future. And I got hit by a Trans Am when I was a child. I got hit by a beautiful silver Trans Am there on 25th Street in Covington, Louisiana. And I'll tell you this, it sucks getting hit by a car, but get hit by a nice little hot rod, boy, it makes it a little bit more comfortable. So those are our Patreon questions. Again, you can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Theo Von. And I appreciate everybody who's given that support. Oh, what else do we want to get into today, guys? I feel like, just this 9/11 stuff, I guess it's kind of sitting on me a little bit. And I appreciate you guys being here with me to think about it and to kind of, just think about, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean? What does it mean when, your life, it could end? It could end in an instant. And then what happens? Where do we go? I know that I'm going somewhere else. It might be a heaven. It might be somewhere special. I know that. And I believe that. And some people don't like to believe in that kind of stuff, but here's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't you? What do you have to lose? Are you afraid? At a certain point, I'm like, having a little bit of faith, it's almost like you're afraid to put your ball into a bigger court. I think it takes balls to have a little bit of faith these days, you know. And look, we don't have a lot of proof, you know. But I don't think we ever had any proof we were going to be here, you know. I mean, Joe Rogan says it best. We're floating on a ball of dirt and water, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and nobody seems to care. If it can happen once, I could easily end up in a more exotic place with beautiful animals like chimpanzés and alpaca keats, you know, and salamigers, you know, and that's a salamander tiger, and they small on the front and they got a big hips and tiger back end, beautiful animals. But that was pretty much the weekend, guys. You know, that was pretty much the weekend, and I hope your weekend was good. You know, we got a beautiful week ahead of us now. We're here in September. I'll be in Cleveland. You can come there and check me out. You can hit the hotline with anything that, you know, that you want to think about or discuss. You know, if this 9/11 meant something to you, what's going on? You know, I'll get in and fill you in. We're doing some new things here at the podcast. The Patreon support's going to help out. You know, we don't have a lot of followers yet, but it'll come on, and I appreciate the people who got on board. And if you didn't get on board, that's okay too. So yeah, I think today's theme is just to celebrate that life, man. Celebrate the fact that we're alive, you know. Because some people, September 11th, it ended. That was their last one. But we got this one. We're here today for this one. You know, we're here today. And I'll give you guys a sensual update. I am coming into 5 days of no masturbation, no pornography. And man, I'll say this, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. And we got some other great callers. We'll get into them next week. We're going to post some other content this week. I appreciate everybody checking into this past weekend. I'll see you guys in Cleveland. And, next week I got a big announcement to make. So pretty excited about that. And let's take us out of here with what we love to do, man. Just to celebrate living. Happy September 11th, guys. The number one thing you can do to remember September 11th is to celebrate living. Keep it going. Onward. You know, you can show up to work drunk, but you might end up falling off the poop boat. So you stay on your poop boat. Because they got shit out there in the water. And you guys be good to yourselves. And I'm going to try to be good to myself. And we're going to make it through one more week together, man. I'll see you guys next weekend. I love you crispy little criminals, man. I'm going to try to go not masturbate and go to sleep. Monday Night Football tomorrow night, baby. My Saints. I'm excited. All right, you guys take care, man. Thank you.